Y'all have an exam on Wednesday. If you're in the online class watching this, it means you have an exam this weekend. What I want to do first is finish up the last set of notes. Then we're going to go to Blackboard and see what y'all actually have on for this exam. But there's one last thing on this, and this is really where it fits because we're doing business and stuff related to that. So what I want to do is give, this is going to be more of a practical lecture than many that I've given, and it's sort of a nice way for us to come back from a week or so break. So what I want to do is look at some issues in applying some of this social psych stuff to our culture and something that may or may not be relevant to many of you finding a job one day. All right, that's why we're here, that's why we're in college. We want to get a job. I was told I should change majors the other day. It's like I'm not actually majoring in your field. My apologies, but whatever. All right, so there are many ways that people apply for a job. So what are some ways would you go and get jobs? Or you have the application. What other ways?
Apply online, but it's kind of the application.
Yeah, you apply. You can apply online. What else? Can you have
Yeah, no people.
Resume. That's what we're going to speak about most, because hopefully our plan is, our desire is, our love is that you start applying for jobs that need some resumes. But there's still jobs that require applications. But resume is going to be the one we're going to focus on, because I discovered a couple years ago that we're not really giving any advice on how to do resumes. And other things like letters of recommendation. I will occasionally get phone calls. This doesn't happen that often after I started giving this lecture. But I'll occasionally get phone calls that are, so-and-so gave your name. And I'm sitting there going, who are they? I don't know who they are. I don't know if I can say anything positive about them. I mean, I'm drawing a blank. So you can imagine how unhelpful that is. Some jobs require some type of standardized test, right? So you got to take a reading test, a writing test, math test, personality test, right? So we already discussed some of those. Interviews. So we also want to look at some issues related to the performance of interviews. So given what you already know, and we've discussed in this class, the interview, do you think this is going to add a lot to the other pieces of information? Add a little? Do you think it's going to be better than the other information? That's a good way to phrase it. All right, so you're going to apply for grad school one day, hopefully, or not, I don't care. But let's say many of you are like, I want to go further, be a counselor, therapist, psychologist. So you're going to take the GRE, you're going to have your, what other test do you take other than the GRE? Like an LSAT, if you're going to law school, MCAT, if you're going to go to med school, maybe Miller's Analogy, some type of test. So you're going to have some type of standardized test. You're also going to have your GPA and letters of rec, hopefully. So then you're going to get called for an interview if you pass the first cut. Here's a good question. What's the purpose of this interview? We can ask the question another way. I have since I picked on Byron all semester, I'll continue to do so. I have all of Byron's. I know his GPA. I know his scores on the GRE. I have his letters of rec. So we can think, okay, I have these letters. I have. I'm gonna leave letters out of this because letters are going to complicate it. So I have his GPA and I have his GRE score. That's one piece of information. What would the interview add to this?
Personality.
Personality, but you already know what are some problems with that answer, right? So Byron's coming, so he's applying for a job at Robinson's Wholesale, I don't know, stuff. I sell wholesale stuff, buddy. Right? So
Like appearance, like the outfit you're wearing.
But if he knows that he needs to dress up nice, then is this going to give me any information?
No.
So in other words, the interview. I'll give you 1 second. So the interview might be better for acquiring what kind of information? Supporting or what?
Supporting.
No. So you can think of it as okay. So you're like, okay, well, I know what kind of clothing, So, but if you have any smarts whatsoever, you know to go interview dressed in. Yeah, so you might say it gives me supporting information, but it's far more likely to give me disconfirming information, right? Right? If Byron shows up dressed in flip-flops and he's wearing socks because he's not cool. He's wearing jorts too. Right? So if he shows up wearing right clothing, that may tell me a lot less than.
Oh, no, I was just saying interviews are more about, you do have scores and everything, but they say how you're in person, your communication skills and, dressing is important, but how you deal with issues.
How I deal with the issue. So if you were voting, you can get one piece of information, or sorry, one class of information. You can get one class of information. You can either get this information, or you could get this information.
I would go for the B one.
Okay, so let's see what your peers think. A or B. So what do you want? You can get A or B. You can't get both. So you can either know any sort of demographic information about the person, or you can have just the interview information. Which do you want? Let's go with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see what y'all prefer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see if it shows. Oh, this is awesome. This is great. Because what we're going to see in some of this is the interview actually provides a lot less valuable information.
I was going to ask you, is this an interview for applying for a job or for grad school? Because I think that would be a determinant factor. Like as an employer looking for something as opposed to university.
So I will tell you the data that I'm drawing from have been done with interviews for jobs. So there's no reason that I think that it wouldn't also be similar for this, because when you go and apply for graduate school, does UAB require interviews? My school did. Does UAB? They never interviewed me when so they require them? All right. But you sort of got to think, well, what are some factors that may make this actually less informative than it might seem otherwise? Right? Because, so you come into my interview, I have certain expectations, right? So let's say that I have this belief that men are not going to be good at this job. That's my belief. So you come in and you interview me, how am I going to act towards you? Am I going to be supportive? Am I going to be open, inquiring? Give me a blank stare. If I think men are not going to be good at a certain job and you come in as my interview person, how might I act towards you? Short. Am I going to sit? Not interested. So you got to think, there's going to be how the interviewer is going to act. We're going to see some of this. But what is that going to bring out of the interviewee?
The bad side.
It's going to bring out the bad side. So one problem with interviews is that the interviewer characteristics affect the interviewee, but also this then feeds back here. The problem is the interviewer often goes, they're not qualified for reasons that have nothing to do with any of this other stuff. We're going to come to that.
Is that done outwardly?
People claim they're not doing it. So the way this has been done is they actually go in and film how close people sit together. They film the length of the conversation. They ask people to hear the interview and go, basically, does this person sound like they are going to hire them or not? And then when you do the variables of interest, you find that what the interviewer expects often influences what the interviewee does, and then the interviewer thinks they're getting objective information. So I act cold towards you, you act cold back, and I go, see, I told you, we need someone who's warned for this job. No, it's a problem. It's a real problem. It's a real problem in this sort of thing. We're going to get there here in a second, though. I want to give some stuff, though. Resume. There's a lot that could be said. And the reason I'm doing this is an American social psych class, so there is one way in which we apply for jobs in the business world, that's resumes. And we don't really get a lot of information on these. So there's some points of agreement I would tell you. I did this for a while. My job was to write resumes for people, or to edit their resumes more technically. I didn't write them. So one thing is use powerful words in your resume. Now this is one of those times where you need a thesaurus, either digitally or in print form, where you're sitting there and you're going to use powerful action words that make you seem competent and efficacious. So you might say something like, I accomplished the following. Or, I did this. If you want a little clue, think of your Latinate words. Think of your words that have these Latinate roots, accomplished. I accomplished the following items. Right? You also, you might say, organized, right? I organized a statewide festival. That's actually what I'm in the process of doing right now. Organizing a statewide festival or gathering. Versus, I put together an event. Right? So which one sort of grabs you? Put together versus organized. Like, I did this. If you have the chance, instead of saying you talked with someone, say you interviewed them. Say you consulted with them. So I'm going to show you the use of these in a second. So some of you are going to have trouble because you have college and some perhaps retail experience, but we're going to try and parlay this into something that sounds good. Because you're trying to stand out from a bunch of people. You also need to have a clear, easy layout. This is probably one of the biggest problems I saw when I did this for a living, was that people would come in there with a 5-page resume, just completely random. I had one dude who listed every job he had ever done even for a day. I'm like, were you applying for the law board? Because they make you do that when you apply for the law board. They make you list everything. I don't know if y'all know that. If you're planning on being a lawyer, you might want to keep yourself clean for a while. I'm serious, man. They ask every. Even your downloading days. Yeah. Now, they're going to ask you what the resolution to your downloading problems were, right? But it's on there. Like I have friends who are doing it now, and they have 60-page. Apparently the average is something along 20, 30 pages. But they ask you every speeding ticket. Am I ruining your law school dreams right now?
I already have interviews in law school.
No, this is on the other end. So this is not even to get into law school. This is you've gone through 3 years of law school. You're getting ready to take the boards, right?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So try not to do anything new.
Okay.
Stay away from
Thanks.
downloading.
Appreciate it.
Well, I didn't know you before then when you were, stealing music and getting in trouble with the feds. List any titles or notable accomplishments on your resume. Make sure that people know what you did at your job. Try to volunteer for stuff. So what I want to do though, I think this is best shown by example. I'm going to show you, I'm going to eliminate some information so y'all know where I live and come visit me. I want to show you the resume that I have used for many, many years. I also have to forgive me, I'm going to turn this down. And I've used some modified form of this. And the reason I show this is to give you an example, and this is actually the jobs that I've done. But what's useful about this is you can immediately hand it to someone and they can immediately go, what is your educational background? Boom, immediate. They know what you've done. So you're going to have bachelor's or master's, people coming back. You want them to know this. But if your job experience is more powerful, put that first. I just put this powerful because I usually apply for jobs as a tutor or a writer or something of that genre. Then I put the experience that I've had. I'm going to blow this up a little bit for y'all to see. So this is some early experience. This was back when I was y'all's age, back in the Pleistocene era. So what I've done here when I was constructing my resume was I made it very clear you could see what time periods I worked. Now, you got to start thinking, when might time periods not work for someone? Who might not want to use time periods?
Do you have big gaps?
If you have big gaps. Or do what with big gaps? What might you do with your big gaps? Not lie. No, explain them like you have a cover letter, right? You can explain them in your cover letter, like, I know there's a large gap from, March whatever to this. I was going to school full time, or whatever it is you did that sounds impressive during that period.